Hello and welcome. This is Kelly Loves Books and Movies, and I'm Kelly. Today I am back at my Barnes & Noble. Shocker. But I actually came for one specific thing, and I stayed true to that. It happens to be 9/11 when I am filming this, and I just got a recommendation earlier for a book, The Only Plane in the Sky, which is about an oral history of 9/11. I've read other 9/11 books, and actually, I think I saw this in the store a while ago and thought it looked interesting and didn't get it, but today I was like, I should probably get that. Anyway, today we are going to be talking about the 100 books on the best 100 books of the century, the New York Times bestseller, or not bestseller list, the New York Times list of the 100 best books of this century. Now, obviously, lists can be problematic. Everybody doesn't always agree. They can be kind of elitist. I mean, it's the New York Times, it's elitist already. But I just think they're kind of fun. I mean, it's no more. I mean, obviously, some more of these books will probably get for sales, would be good. But, otherwise, importance wise, they're just fun to talk about. And they bring up things that maybe, and they, give you good ideas. So, anyway. Of the 100 I've read, I think I've only read 9. 9, I think. Alright, starting with number 98, Bel Canto. I liked it a lot. I was loving it through the whole book, and then the end it kind of fell off for me, but definitely worth a read. I don't remember which one of you out there. Oh, never mind. Forget it. Number 80, The Story of the Lost Child. I will hold talking about this till the end because you probably read the list. Spoiler alert. Number 1 is My Brilliant Friend, part of the Neapolitan novels, and I will talk about them at the end. 64, The Great Believers. A friend had actually recommended this to me a while ago, so when I got home, I was visiting her in Florida, and she said, you should read this book. So I got home, got it, read it. I really liked it. She told me to read it because there's a character in there that is probably very loosely based on someone we know. And it's a very, very minor character, and I'm not sure I agree with her with that, but yeah. So I read it, and I did really enjoy the story. 53, Runaway, Alice Munro. This was a long time ago that I read this, and I don't remember much other than I remember like whatever the first story is in there. I was really into it, and it just kind of ended, and I was like, wait, isn't there more? And I don't think I really liked the other stories in the book, but I don't remember. It was a long time ago. 46, The Goldfinch, which I believe I loved. I have not seen the movie, and I think I didn't see the movie because I loved the book, and you know how that usually goes. So yeah, lots of people love I think The Goldfinch is kind of maybe polarizing. You either love it or hate it. I loved it, and I am definitely The Nightingale is on my list to read. So one of these days, or is it The Nightingale? No, I'm totally thinking of the wrong book. Birds on the brain. Her other one, I can't remember. I'm sure I'll remember it eventually. I read number 35, Fun Home. Loved it. It's a graphic novel, Alison Bechdel's life. I did not see the musical. Before reading it, I knew some about her and some of her work. Not a lot of it. We have friends in common, strangely enough. But yeah, so I read it. Don't know her. Friends know her. Friends have some original artwork from her that she did specifically for my friend, and it's really cool, but I'm not gonna. Anyway, it's a cool comic. 26, Atonement. I think I read this. I am still not 100% sure I read this. The movie came out in 2007. I loved the movie, and I'm about 75% sure after the movie I got the book and read it. Now, this was 2007, and I didn't really start keeping track of the what actually I've read until 2010. So I think I read Atonement. And even if I look at the summary, I don't know in my mind if it's remembering the movie or the book. So I'm gonna count it as I think I read it, and I'm pretty sure. I'm again 75% sure I read this book, and I believe I liked it. The next book I read was number 7, The Underground Railroad, which I liked a lot, did not love. And then number 1, My Brilliant Friend, which is the first book in the Neapolitan novels. And the Neapolitan novels, all 4, I read, obviously. I loved them. It's probably the last series. I mean, they were all out when I first started reading it, I think. Maybe the 4th one wasn't quite out yet. But as soon as I finished one, I literally ran to the store to get the next one to read, because I was that into them. Anyway, yeah, I have not seen the series that's based on the first book. Maybe someday I will. I don't really know. And then out of the 100 that I've either had on my list for a while or really have, or actually owned but just have not read, the 92, The Days of Abandonment, which is another Elena Ferrante book, so I probably should read it because I loved her other ones. 90, The Sympathizer, I believe, yeah. I mean, I think that's been on my list for a while. I don't really know a ton about it. 83, When We Cease to Understand the World. Also, someone recommended that to me not too long ago, so I put it on my list. 74, Olive Kitteridge. Okay, story time. When I moved back from Florida to Minnesota, I pretty much moved with what I had in a car. And I sent 4 boxes of books, media mail home ahead of me. 3 of them made it. And I'm shocked that the one that didn't make it, I had one that was kind of in poor shape when I sent to put it in the mail. That made it, and another one didn't. Anyway, I lost some really good books in there. But when I was moving, I knew, since I was only going to have, a very small amount to take, I had to get rid of a lot of books. And I know that I had Olive Kitteridge, I just hadn't gotten to read it yet. So that's definitely one I knew I do need to read. I feel like it's one I'm gonna really enjoy. I don't know why haven't gotten to it yet, other than, I mean, my want to read list is probably longer. You could put probably longer than me. All right, 72, Secondhand Time, The Last of the Soviets. Someone else recommended that to me a long time ago, or not that long ago, but and it's just an interesting story about the last of the Soviets. I went to Russia. I went to the Soviet Union in 1989. 1989. No. Yes, 1989. In very early spring, like in March. There wasn't a McDonald's there yet. It was still the Soviet Union. So it'd be interesting to read this, Yeah. Demon Copperhead, number 61. Everybody says great things about it. It's been on my list. Nickel and Dimed. Again, I know it's been out a while, and that's one I thought, didn't I read this? But I don't think I have. Speaking of 9/11, The Looming Tower, which is number 55, and I just actually picked that up in my hand and looked at it in Barnes & Noble. And it's more of a history of like Al-Qaeda and leading up to that point. 48, Persepolis, which I also had in my hand, and I put it down. 20, Erasure. I saw American Fiction, which is based on this book. And I love that movie, so I probably should read the book because I think the book probably obviously is more expanded. And 15 Pachinko. Okay, then there is the readers list, which is a lot of those, I would say just off the top of my head 50-50 of books that made it both lists. So these are the ones that are on that list that I have read that aren't on the main list. Number 37, The Nickel Boys, which I just finished the other day. I read it in one sitting. I read it in a day, that's for sure. I'm not going to say much about it here. You'll have to watch my wrap-up at the end of the month or the very beginning of next month. But, spoiler alert, I did love it. Much more than The Underground Railroad. 49, Gone Girl, loved it. Movie, not so much. Okay, I put this on this list, The Devil in the White City, as a DNF. Because I did start reading it, and it was interesting. Like, the parts that were about the World's Fair were great. The other parts about the serial killer was a little too creepy for me. I was getting too creeped out. I couldn't read those parts. Crying in H Mart I read, which was 72. The Glass Castle, which was 89. And the 100th book on that list, A Man Called Ove. And I love that book. That's probably the only book, getting warm in here. It's probably the only book I've read in recent years that I've given 5 stars to. Alright, and then there's just a bunch of the other books that are on that list that I want to read. All the Light We Cannot See, I actually own that. I haven't read it. Gentleman in Moscow and Lincoln Highway. I know a lot of you have spoken highly of both of those books, and I do want to read those. Normal People I own. James is on my plan to read with Huckleberry Finn as a book and its adaptation. The Nightingale, 11/22/63 by Stephen King. Braiding Sweetgrass, which I've owned it. I think that also did not make my trip between Florida and Minnesota. Just Kids, also hearing a lot about great things about that. And Remarkably Bright Creatures, which I am currently reading. Alright, so that's what I've done from the lists. Is there anything I should be reading that aren't on my list that you like? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. See y'all next time.